Uh, thanks, Steve. Um, so with our mission statement in mind, we've created a special series of consultative classes that are tailored specifically for you and your businesses because we really do believe that your success is our success. So our goal is very simple. It's just to help you grow your business, whether it's boosting profitability, increasing retail traffic, or generating more referrals, or just supporting key aspects like branding and sales. We're here to guide you every step of the way. So today we have a 60-minute session that's going to focus on enhancing your spa selling techniques and designed to give you skills to close more deals this year. And we are thrilled to have Effort Today's Steve Hassan Mueller joining us for a class on the art of selling spas. We've been working with Steve for the past several months as a sales trainer, and I personally have gotten so much out of this training session. And we do recommend him, and I'd be happy to follow up with his information and his website following this class, or I'll even put it in the chat. So back to this class, the art of selling spas. Steve's going to walk us through some proven strategies and techniques to elevate your sales process and everything in between. So get ready for some valuable insights that are going to transform your approach and drive your business forward this year. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you and let you get started.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. Elevate really is what I'm trying to do, or what we're trying to do. We've been, and some of this might sound self-promotional. I don't mean it to be. I've been in the industry for 40 years. I started in the early 80s, retail floor. Back then, of course, nobody even knew they would walk up and say, "What is that?" And that's certainly not the case now. And I look back too, because I always tell people in certain parts of like taking this seriously, the pool and spa industry is a $24.5 billion industry. I mean, that's a big deal. And I did ask AI, like, what was it in 1984 when I started? And it was like 2 billion, which even then that sounds like a lot, but that's not a big industry. That's what doesn't get anybody's attention. But now at 24 and a half, that's why you see all the consolidation, all the private equity, all the different things going on. So I was in retail. Then I had an outside rep job in the Northeast. First thing I learned, people are the same everywhere. I learned from that because I'm from Tennessee and I'm up in upstate New York. Found out people were more country in upstate New York than they were in Tennessee. But basically everyone was basically the same. And I ran a swimming pool distribution branch for a couple of years, independent rep for a couple of years. And then I was hired by Marquis Spas as a regional rep, as well as to start their training program, University of Marquis, how to sell these products, because they weren't easy to sell. So I did that for 30 years. Internet last 10 to 15 was focused basically on international. So I was out of the country, living in the country. Our company got bought. I decided not to have a traditional, selling job like that anymore, and started this company, Effort Day Enterprises, which is about selling. And my mission is to help people develop engaged sales practices, because it's a practice. It's like it's ongoing. I've learned more this year than the last couple, just and I learn a lot every year. So it's like it's an ongoing practice, and that's really my mission. The money that I make goes to fund educational scholarships here in Belize. I live in Belize. I say that for two reasons: one, to try to impress you, and two, to let you know that I don't know what your goals are in life, but you can accomplish them in the pool and spa industry. It's a big deal, and you can take it. You can be as you can make it whatever you assign the value to it. I've always taken my work very seriously to be really good at it at every step of that way. I always tell people too that your next job is based on how well you do this job. Even if people don't, our goal is to be great, regardless of what someone else's goal is for us, right? The best way for opportunities is to do good work, do really good work. And I've always taken that approach and been able to have a varied and, by my own standards, successful career. So that's where I am. I'm down here. I started, one of the big things that killed me about, in our challenge today, of course, my goal is to give you something, boom. But I did sales training for 30 years, right? And it's like some people, boom, it would help them, transform them, maybe, small percentage, unfortunately. Another people, everybody's excited when we leave that day, but then we go right back to doing whatever we're doing, right? So there's no repetition. That's what's missing. That's why it doesn't stick. And people start to have, whatever attitudes about sales training. It doesn't stick. It's not worth the time or whatever. Well, any growth or learning is worth the time. You might get one idea can change your life, and you don't know where you're going to get that idea. So you got to go to lots of places. And you guys are all here today. So kudos to you. I mean that with all sincerity. It's easy not to. It's easy to do something like this. It's just as easy not to. But there's no repetition. How do we take very important concepts and stay after them. And so when I started Effort Day Enterprises, it was workshops with length, with follow-up. And we've developed a program that's in conjunction with Spa Retailer, where there's a 2.5 hour workshop, which you guys are getting bits and pieces of that today. And then there is 12 months with Sarah's team. We're in like 10th hour of content, because we had the bonus rounds before we got into the monthly follow-up of all these concepts, but really focused on sales presentation, on how to have an authentic, awesome, you're awesome, not my awesome, you're awesome presentation, with the ultimate goal of over a 50% closing ratio of big ticket sales. Big ticket could be anything. It could be that hot tub. It could be a pool. It could be a furniture set. It could be a grill. Anything that's like $3,000-$5,000 up, I would consider a big ticket. It's going to take more than just, hey, here it is and here's the price. All right, so I'm going to get going and quit talking about that. So that's my goals. So the hardest part for me is to take like a 2.5 hour workshop and then pull out just little pieces of it.
And it's just great.
To somebody, hey, mute yourself. Whoever front desk is, please mute yourself. Everybody mute themselves. And then we're going to try to have some time at the end for if there are any questions or answers. It's is that part's a little difficult with this. All right, so here we go. So the perception of salespeople, this is what we're up against. There's really no secret about this, right? They did some research and data about ask people, when you think of a word, what do you think about when you think about salespeople? And what they came up with was pushy, difficult, annoying, dishonest, sleazy. We all know that. I mean, who walks around going, oh man, I love salespeople. Salespeople, I hold them in such high regard. That's not necessarily the case. So then they also asked them again, so think of a picture, an image when you think of a salesperson. And the answer are used car salesman, man in a suit, pushy, slimy. The bigger the words there means they came up over and over and over and over in the data. So that is there. That is like the when you say the elephant in the room, that's just a fact, man. We don't think highly of salespeople for the most part. Then we can have an after effect maybe of, hey, that guy was good, man. Because everyone needs a good salesperson. The problem is they can't find one, right? So we're up against that. That's the research. And so our goal, we have to transcend this, like from the very start, we have to transcend this. So we got to have a strategy. And so I've always used, if you want to, code red is like a hospital term trying to be clever of like, hey, somebody's in danger, life in danger. Well, we're in danger. We don't have a strategy. But any meaningful change you want to make in your life, all right, there's a 3-step process, red, right? And those 3 things are raise your standards. That's the quickest way. And here's the other thing too, is we'll get to this in kind of a minute, is that when I talk about professional, I'm talking about personal. And when I talk about personal, I'm talking about professional, because it is all one. Who you are is who you bring to work. And actually, if I zoom way out, I will say that the work, who we bring to the work is the work. That's the work. Who we bringing in every day to sell those big ticket items. That's it. So anyway, in any area of your life, raise your standards. That's the quickest way to say, all right, that's not it anymore. I'm going to do better. What's that going to require? And then the E part, eliminate self-limiting beliefs. We all have them. We all struggle. Imposter syndrome is a real thing for everyone, even billionaires. You see that on podcasts and other people talking to very successful people saying, man, forever. So we got to take those self-limiting beliefs and we have to eliminate it. It's not easy. Anything that anyone else has ever done, you could do it too, if you so desired. And then develop a better strategy. And that's why I just have that you need a strategy for you is raise your standards, eliminate self-limiting beliefs, and develop a better strategy. And that's how you make a positive change in your life on any aspect. And we'll talk about selling. Yeah, we're here to talk about selling and get better at that. But there's other parts to it. So I've been writing a book for a couple of years, and it is goal number 1. We have another seminar coming up on the 10 deadly obstacles for salespeople, and one of them is lack of goal setting. But my big goal is finish that book this year. But my 30-year observation, I've had the title and the cover for a while. Your presentation needs improvement, right? Your presentation sucks. And I could say, and I do that to get your attention, like get someone's attention and go, whoa, wait a minute, does it? You know what? But that's really where I see where people don't have 50% closing ratios or where they don't, have a successful career. And I've seen a lot of people blast out of this. That's really what's got me thinking for a long time too, is why don't people last in this industry? You may not treat it like it's real, but if you don't treat it like it's real, it's not real, so you don't stay. Or you're up and down and you don't have a sustainable success, so you don't stay. But I hope that take that right back to, if we can't sell big ticket items on a consistent, sustainable basis, then we suck basically. And our job is to not suck. And I always use the example of the guy who ran Pixar Films, Ed Catmull. Pixar makes Toy Story, all those incredible movies. He said, man, when we look at the first run of that movie, it sucks. I mean, these are his words. It sucks. And then our job is to make it unsuck. Well, if you've been thrown onto the floor, which I was, no one ever trained me on anything. I'm just taking 40 years of what I found the hard way and trying to cut a bunch of years off of everybody else's life for anyone interested in going to another level. But thrown onto the floor, well, how can it not suck? And we hear some things, and product training is not sales training. You could have all the product knowledge in the world. Doesn't mean you're going to sell anything, or you're not going to possibly sell it successfully. So our presentation, I'm going to define it on the next slide. What we bring to that customer every single day, that's what's going to make us improve that, and ongoing. And I've learned so much this year with a very important book I'll mention, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Oh my gosh, about making a better presentation with connection. So, definition of presentation. A presentation is meant to inform, persuade, inspire, motivate, or build goodwill. Now, who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to do that for your customer? Okay, great, right? Motivate to buy from us, right? To inform them on why they should, persuade them to do business with us versus someone else. Not, try to use exterior force, but that's what we want to build goodwill. So they like us, people buy from people they like. But we also want to do that for our husband or wife, and for our coworkers, and for the people around us in this world. So so focusing on our presentation, our ability to inform, persuade, inspire, motivate, or build goodwill is critical. And in the Western society, the culture that we live in, the best presentation wins. So, given two equal products or things, the best presentation is going to win. So that's why we have to focus on that. And wherever we are, and I know a lot of really good salespeople, right? And I know a handful of great salespeople. I know a lot of really good salespeople. And we talk about the 80-20 rule. I know a bunch that aren't very good or aren't very effective. That could be, right? Because there's always another level wherever we are. So here's my 7 levels of aspiration, right? First, you're a rookie. You get hired. You're new. We were all that at one time, right? Everybody hates to be a rookie, but guess what? Everybody's a rookie. Anything you don't know, you are a rookie. You're brand new. You are just learning it. And then you become a novice, meaning you got a little bit of experience, you got a little bit of knowledge, but not a lot, right? You're not really valuable, but you're learning. You're new, but you're learning. And then I use the word typical. And, what do you think about when you think about a typical salesperson? So I'm a rookie, I'm a novice, now I'm typical. The words aren't very good, right? So in my opinion, but I'm going to make a point here in a second about why I use that word. But then when we understand, there's a lot more to it. And that's hopefully one thing I show you today. There's a lot, whatever you're doing, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it to be improved on that will personally and professionally impact you, help you, right? But journeyman means I got to learn now. I've got some friends in plumbing, their kids are like in plumbing or electrical. Journeyman programs, meaning you work under a master, someone really good, for a long time. And then you become qualified enough to do that. Well, journeyman means I got a lot left to learn, and I know it now, and I'm getting to work on it, right? So journeyman, very critical stage that I would say a lot of people don't get to. And then atypical. And atypical means the opposite of typical, right? So if I'm thinking typical salesperson is that word cloud that we saw, then atypical is the opposite of that, right? But effective. And I really believe my whole career of sales training, 30 years of that, of University of Marquette, really working on that, is I'm trying to say, here's where we got to go. We got to be atypical. But I didn't really have a path to, that you could get there on, right? It's like, it's a lot of great information, but not really put it together. And that's really what I think that I have a vision of now is how to go from A to Z wherever you are, even if you're brand spanking new, and build a sustainable, highly successful career. But you got to be atypical. That's at a bare minimum, we have to aspire to that, right? And then virtuoso, I use that instead of mastery. I mean, if you know someone who's really, really good at something, whether it's, a musician, an athlete, a school teacher, whatever, somebody who's really, really good, really put in the work, that they've mastered their craft. And then a very highest level, which I really myself hasn't fully defined yet, but this universal, vibrating at a very high level in all aspects of our lives, including in our work. So we got to decide where we want to go, because what I see is that theoretically there's always another level. But we get rolled in as rookies, novice, we get typical self-few spas, we think we're okay, and we stop. We stop. And what does typical mean? I mean, I don't think of, for me, it means unskilled, right? Basically unskilled. Typical salesperson, typical worker they're just unskilled. There's no value provided, right? So there's just typical. Seth Godin, who is a hero of mine, great marketer and author and thought leader, says that in his opinion, 90% of salespeople are below average. Ooh, that hurts. He says, because things are on a curve, and you got the really good, and then you got average. And the other thing I would say, no one pays for average, man. No one pays for mediocre, whether it's personally, professionally, whatever. No one pays for mediocre. So there's a study done, and this kind of blew up my head because it was 25 years ago, and I didn't know about it until like a month ago. And I just wrote an article where I referenced this in Spa Retailer magazine. Now it's back into all of my presentations. But these psychologists 25 years ago, and this isn't just salespeople, this is all professions, said that there's this cognitive bias. This is what the Dunning-Kruger curve or the Dunning-Kruger effect, exactly the same thing. You hear it said two different ways. It's that there's cognitive bias, your brain, where individuals with limited ability in a specific job overestimate their skills. And when I first saw this, like, when I'm thinking broadly of this 80% of salespeople who aren't very good that need to improve, that maybe that a large percent of them don't think they need to, and that's the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part, is if you don't think you need to improve. So this is, the studies revealed that the least skilled people rated themselves the highest. And I've seen this also in American classrooms for math skills and all that. We rank very low for our students, young people, and yet they feel more confident than the people that are actually having the high grades. So high confidence doesn't mean you're good, right? And so this was, like I said, this was for all professions. And I can think of teacher, I can think of everybody that's just not very good, and yet they're finished, right? They're finished learning and growing. So at peak of Mount stupid means a lack of awareness, right? So the peak is that I'm not very good, and I'm unaware. I don't think I need to get any better, because if you did, that's typical in my opinion, right? The valley of despair means, damn, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's really the message I want to convey today with some of these slides. Is there's a lot of work for us to do, to build our careers to a higher level and to elevate. So you can get despair. He's like, damn, it's going to take a while. And it does take a long time, man. You aren't a guru, their term, right? Or a virtuoso, or even atypical, without some work over a period of time. And you don't just jump to sustainability. You work towards it day in, day out, drip, 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 learning how to do better, get better, do wrong, be aware of it, fix it, and move on. So the Dunning-Kruger curve, a couple of, like I said, I'll talk for 2.5 hours on 3 slides. So I'm going to just try to keep us going, and we'll make sure we get the overview. So how you can recognize it in yourself or other people's overconfidence, think you're done. I'm done. I don't know how many Sarah people you invited, but 8 signed up for it. Fantastic. Maybe there's like, I was doing the math one day with someone else about how many dealerships in North America, US and Canada. I mean, we think there's like 20,000 salespeople, and we've got a few hundred in our program. So like, Overconfidence, I don't need it, right? I got it all. I don't need anything. Overconfidence, lack of awareness. I'm not very good, but I don't even know it, and I'm not trying to get any better. Humility is a really big aspect of learning, and I've always said the words be a lifelong learner. Everybody always nods their head, but nodding your head doesn't mean anything until you really feel it. But a lack of awareness, and then feedback resistant. Someone tells me something or gives me feedback. Let me tell you what, closing ratio is your feedback. That's it right there. If you don't close at least 50% of the people you talk to about your big ticket items, you need work. We need work. We need work. Closing ratio doesn't care who we are, our gender, or our level of education. It doesn't care anything. It's like, yes, I buy from you. No, I don't buy from you. And my bottom line of that, if you think that's high, is if you are a good person with a good product working for a good company, why on earth would less than half of the people that you talk to buy from you? Why on earth? There is no reason. The reason is in the mirror, right? We got to look at that. So resistance to that feedback or that understanding, and then how to overcome it. Solicit regular advice, man. How you doing? I mean, your closing ratio will do that, but also people that you admire or respect or that are doing well can tell you. Set specific goals and how are we getting there, right? Even when I talk about finishing the book this year, it's 250 words a day. It was 500. I'm like, okay, I can't do that every day. That's realistic. So I got to have specific goals and stick with them on how to get better, and then commit to continuous learning. And like I said, nodding our heads and saying yes to things and then not doing them really doesn't help. And there's actually a book in 99 called The Knowing Doing Gap, that when we know what to do but we just don't do it, that gap is greater and harder to transcend than the gap between ignorance and knowledge. See, here's the thing: is when we're rookies and novices and all, that's great. We don't know. No one knows anything until you learn it, and then you start to go. But it takes continuous learning. I just saw some stats that were terrible. 46% of Americans didn't read a last year read, and another 28% read less than 5. So like 72% of the world hasn't committed to any kind of continuous learning where it requires reading and thinking. I also saw something crazy. Colleges aren't teaching full novels anymore because the kids can't finish a book. So they'll just teach little segments. That's called dumbing down the world. So anyway, and that's all fine for anybody who wants that. Just don't let that be you, right? Commit to continuous learning. It's a big deal. And then being really crystal clear on what we control, right? All we really control, this is an important graphic. All we really control, your thoughts, your actions and reactions, your choices and your words. That's it. Then we influence other things. And then we have a concern about other things, but we spend so much time, gross generalization, focused on things we do not control. And one of my great, having said this enough in workshops, it starts to, really take hold in myself, because I'm just a human being. I make the same mistakes everyone else makes, right? Or am influenced by the same things. It's like, when I look at things, I'm like, well, it's out of my control. Nope, I'm not going to think about it. Whoop, it's out of my control. Because even when people tell me some of the things I say, and they say, Steve, I can't do that. Okay, well, you can't. So you think you can't. You control your thought, and you just said you can't. Or your words, you just said you can't. Your actions means you won't, right? Or you try one time and you quit, right? Well, that's in your circle of control. But that's all you control, right? But that's critical. That's all you need. That's all you need to get and go anywhere you want, do anything you want, is in that circle of control. And then in the normal workshop, we don't see this picture for a very long time because I build to it. But our ultimate goal, and I'm going to jump past this one because I got this 3 different times in here as we start to make the points on it. The goal of what I talk about, what we have to do to elevate is we need a sales process. The growth process is the personal part, which is right there with it. And it needs to be principles, a value-based and principled sales process. And I use the metaphor of a Roman arch because it changed history in the sense of architecture, because of the arch, it could handle pressure. It could handle weight. It could handle time. I show pictures of 2,000-year-old arches, 2,000. You go to Paris and other places in Europe, there's buses and normal traffic flying over, driving over the original bridges that the Romans built using the arches for the, support the weight. So And I use it because there's other aspects. It's not presentation isn't just some type of entertaining display. But it's the centerpiece. It's what everything else is working towards. And there are 7 steps in a sales process as preparation in all these areas, right? Prospecting, which means really qualifying in the sense of do we have, is what we do and what they are looking for, or whatever, is that part of it? Are they qualified to do buy a price? So, I always consider it in the retail world, if you walk in the store, pretty much, I mean, I'm going to ask you where you live pretty quickly, but unless you're out of our zone, I mean, you're like golden, right? So anyway, but there's still aspect that too, prospecting to get more clients, referrals, and all that. This is an aspect of everything we do. How do we prospect and then qualify and then keep it going? You see, effort. It takes effort. Even my company, Effort Today Enterprises, right? Anything worth achieving in your life requires effort. And then your approach, if you were to Google, hey, what are the sales approaches of this world? There is the consultative, meaning I'm a valued advisor. There's the relational, meaning our relationship takes precedent over the transaction. There's the solution-based, meaning you're looking for this and I've got this and you can buy it. And then they don't really say this one, but there's another one called the hard sell, which is this industry, in my opinion, was founded on, today only, or you're going to lose on this fear of loss, or this external pressure to try to force someone to buy like a timeshare presentation or something. That's gone. That doesn't work anymore. And so that's really where I think a lot of this industry is struggling, because it used to and it doesn't, but we still keep doing the same thing. And it's really, we got to be a mixture of all of those, right? Relational, consultative, solutional, and a reason to make a decision, right? You can call that a hard sell, whatever, but it's the same idea. Is like, yeah, make it work. So, and then there's a 5th type of sale, I mean, no sale. I mean, no, people don't buy from us because we don't very good about this. So our presentation encompasses all of this: overcoming objections, right? Closing the sale. People get weird about that. I'll talk about that in a second. We love to close on the house. We love to close on a deal that benefits us, when we get weird or uptight about closing big ticket sales. And then follow up, follow through. I don't have enough time to go into that, the tremendously horrible data on how we follow up and what percentage of people actually buy with follow up. So principled, what does that mean? Principled, value-based. So principles are fundamental truths. And, I didn't know to talk about these early in my training, or maybe ever in my training until much later, is because I didn't understand that it was principles. It was life principles that were blasting people out. Why aren't people lasting? Why aren't these salespeople having greater success that I'm talking to? Why aren't they staying in their careers? Why is there constant turnover in these companies in the sales role? And this was a big part of it, because the work is the work, but the rest of it is really important too. So principles are objectives and fundamental truths. I call them things that do not take care of themselves. This is the category of things that do not take care of themselves. Ignore them at your own peril. And this is my first AI image I ever created by typing in, I'm looking for this, this, this. And what it means is what we think doesn't really matter until we get it in our hearts and it grows roots and becomes, we embody it. It's part of who we do, right? So life principles in brief: physical, diet, exercise, sleep, mental, reading, writing, learning; spiritual, morals, ethics, integrity, right? Reverence for life; relational. A lot of research says, hey, the studies they've done over a span of a lifetime, the only thing that really matters is with other people. It's not really fame, fortune, possessions, or anything else. Relational, how are we doing? And then financial. So, and we go in depth with these in the workshop way more than this. I just want to give you an idea of what principled and value-based is, because I can't talk about a presentation unless that's the ultimate. You go to that and you start to have greater success. But what if you show up and you don't physically feel good because you haven't taken care of yourself, right? Not sleep. I've been obsessing about sleep for a couple of years, making great strides after 2 years. But you show up and you don't feel good, or you have financial stress, or you and your spouse had a yelling match that morning. You can't. How can you do good work? So we have to look at those things and say, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And I even talk about, give yourself a grade, man. And when I did this, my relational was a D, right? That's graded on a curve. Not because I can't have relationships, it's because I'm go, 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 and I'm doing something else, and I'm not taking the time to reach out and go. I was telling Sarah, I'd just been gone for like 2 weeks since I saw her in Atlantic City. One of my things was because I've got friends that live in California that I've known for 50 years. That's the only, I got like two or three of those people. Two of them, they're married to each other. And I haven't seen them in 2 years. And I'm just thinking, we're all getting older, right? And so I just felt the need, since I was already in the States, to go and see them. So anyway, that's me. Chip, that I would have never done that. I'd let 5 years go by. And guess what? When we got together, it'd be fine. But do you have 5 more years? I don't know. Do we? Do I? I don't know. Do they? I don't know. So anyway, all these things that if in sometimes we need major overhauls in some of these areas, major, and that's okay, but you got to start, right? You got to start and chip away, boom, a little bit every single day, every single day. So that's the principles. And then values are personal standards of behavior, right? So principles, fundamental truths. I don't try to sit here and try to convince you that taking care of yourself physically is a good idea. You know that, or that taking care of yourself financially, right? We're going to have to learn new things if we don't know them, or not hand it over to someone else to make all our decisions for us. We know that's a good thing, right? So, but values are now our personal ones. So 5 more, because they're, personal in life. So perseverance, hanging in there, man. Because let me tell you what, anything you want to try in that list, or anything you want to do in your life, or any elevation you're going to try to do in your sales presentation, it won't be easy. It will take much longer than you think it will. And you will run into obstacles, and you will have a chance to quit. And it takes perseverance to not quit when things are tough, and anything worth achieving is tough. Right? Accountability, it's all on you. It's all on me. Whatever. If I fail in something, it's me, not blame, not excuses. It's me. Full accountability. Diligence, which is another word for effort. It's conscientiously working on something with a lot of effort. Consistency and conscientiousness. Discipline is basically self-control. It's like, hey, if I need to not stay up all night, if I need to go to bed at 10 o'clock so I can get 8 hours of sleep, or 9 o'clock, or whatever it is, so I can try to get my 8, then that's discipline. I need to do it. I need to have the control. I'm in charge. I know some people, and I talk about how terrible social media and phones are for the world, as far as taking our space in our brains. And someone I know says, "Oh, I got who doesn't sleep well, health issue, whatever." I'm like, you got to turn that phone off at night, man. It's like, that's just a fact. That's really a principle in my mind. But it's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I got to have lead on in case my kids come off. What about when we didn't have phones? Anyway, so that's discipline, self-control. Let's go with that. And then integrity, man. Come on, honesty, responsibility, respect. Where'd you see integrity on the word cloud? You didn't, right? It's not there. No one thinks of a salesperson with integrity. So when I bring integrity to every interaction, big and small, guess what? I am making that change, heading towards atypical for sure. Actually, just bringing it. I'm atypical, but I'm heading now towards virtue. That I'm bringing the base, and that's the base of my arch of my own personal presentation. All right, get it all, a lot of information we're trying to keep it. So, and then I use for just a, John Wooden, I use him as an example of, okay, when we think about these values and how do we bring them into our life, is that he was if you know who he was considered the greatest basketball coach of all time. I'm not even a basketball fan, but everybody knows John Wooden. He wrote books, and he was a great teacher of young men. He won 10 national championships in a 12-year period, 7 in a row. He was the greatest of all time coaches. I think it's the John Wooden Award that is the National Basketball Scholarship thing. And he would focus on the process. First day of practice, he would tell you how to put your socks on and pull them up, make them tie your shoes so that you don't have blisters. And you don't, like, your shoe doesn't come untied during a critical, the little things, like the little process. And that's really part of our whole overall training program, 15 hours of content, is the process. Focus on the process. We'll establish the goal of where you want to go, but then just work on the process day in, day out, day in, and stack those days. And then the outcome will take care of itself, right? Because we just focus on what we control. But he had 3 rules to be on his team. You want to be on his 10 national championships in a 12-year period, 7 in a row, you only got to do 3 things. Be on time, right? That's it. So I always use these also in of course, saying, why can't we adopt these as a bare minimum? Let's do it as a bare minimum. Let's adopt these, right? Be on time, be neat and clean in appearance and speech, and never criticize a teammate, right? So for us, that'd be never criticize a competitor, never criticize someone in our company, never. They're all nevers, right? So just 3 simple rules. So when I heard these, I was like, man, I'm going to come up with 3. I'm going to come up with 3 every year, 3 of my own. And then that will help me grow or whatever. So I came up with 3. like 3 years ago. And it's so difficult. It's a lifelong effort for the rest of me that I'm throwing out for your consideration. You want to see something change in your life immediately? Start the process of working on these 3 items. Number one, never criticize anything, nothing. Never criticize anything. We are a world of criticism, right? Never criticize anything. Never complain about anything. Get your order wrong. Dang, maybe I didn't communicate it right, right? Accountability, extreme ownership. It's like, yeah, never criticize, never complain, never be offended. This has always been easier for me because I'm usually the one doing the offending. But you'll even know you do it. It's like, hey, not to criticize, and you're about to criticize, but at least you're aware now, not to complain, but just to, I always say, to report data. I'm reporting data. I'm not complaining. But we start to realize this. And I had written a friend recently, and she wrote me back. I said, how was this weekend or wedding or whatever? And he wrote back, well, I don't complain, so I'll just say it was nice. But that's the awareness. That's what we're going for versus whatever problem it had. Another really important graphic is that it takes a growth mindset. Like we get this cognitive rigidity. We learn in school, we grow and grow and grow, and then we just think, okay, somehow school is the cutoff point, whether it's high school or college or master's or anything. That's it. I no longer need to do it. I'm all done, and we slide into this fixed mindset of already knowing it all, giving up easily, ignoring feedback. Don't practice. I don't know any. I know a couple of people that practice their actual presentations to get really good at them. Because guess what? Everything you do really well, you get better at it. So anyway, the cognitive rigidity of that things are just the way they are. It's a big deal, and we have to develop this. And when you can turn your brain back on, I mean, some of the most exciting stuff that's been out in the last few years is the science on the brain. We can rewire it. We can change it. Right? We can forget anything in the past. You don't even need to worry about that. What about right now? What about the decisions I make today moving forward? So now that's the concept of a value-based principled sales process that we're working on all 6 areas, with preparation being the 7th, right? So we don't flatline or flame out. Because the real key, if I had to, if I zoomed out and said, okay, man, here's the basis of sales: build value, smoke out objections, right? It's like, build value. I got to learn who this person is, what if there's any issue to going forward, right? But there's 4 areas of building value, right? And these are in the order of their importance. And I ask this in every class: what's the most important aspect of any sale? And someone for 30 plus years always says price. I don't want them to. I'm keep thinking, all right, stop saying. They will stop. I can understand it 40 years ago. I can't understand it now. Really? Do you truly, really believe that? But everyone says price, right? But that's actually number 4 of the 4. And that's not me saying that. That's, again, data and reality. The last seminar I was in Atlantic City, someone said price. I was like, no. I was like, A, thank you for contributing. B, it's wrong. Because, and then I said, what kind of car do you drive? It says like a Tacoma pickup truck. It's like, is that the cheapest, least expensive truck you can buy in the transaction? It's like, no. It's like, dang, dude, that's the same on everything. And you want to, so anyway, number 1, you are the most influential aspect of any sale. So that's where we get into, if we're not achieving 50% plus closing ratio, it's on us. We got to get with it. We got to say, okay, I got to get better. Here we go. Got to get better. Your company, right? So can I trust you? Do I like you? Are you this word cloud? Your company, your product, and then price. Right. So, but in the absence of, salespeople, I was walking through Atlantic City, a lot of booths, guys just on their phones, man, sitting down on their phones, don't look healthy. I'm like, dang, I don't know. It's just not a good look. Right. So, and your company can't overcome that because I'm dealing with you. So you can have the greatest company in the world, but if you can't convey that to me or make me feel good about it, they can't. And we try to put, hey, this is the greatest product in the world. Look at this. You got them out of order. You might still make something happen, but now you got product number 1 when that doesn't belong there. And in the absence of all those, then that becomes the driving factor, right? So you're going to be your price. Because, you can, whatever you sell, you have a choice. You can treat it like a commodity, all right? And I would, a mass produced unspecialized product, all right? So all spas are the same, right? They got shells, they got topside controls, they got some type of insulation aspect, even if it's zero. They got a cover normally. They've got jets with water coming out, and that's just it, right? So you can treat it that way, and then price is the issue. Or you can develop your creative monopoly. And this is a really big aspect of our workshop that requires more time than the slide. But here's the concept of it. Here's a commodity, coffee, right? So a pound of coffee. I want a pound of coffee. Great, I'm gonna go buy one. Well, I can go to Walmart or Sam's and I can buy Folgers for $5 a pound. Or I can walk into my local Starbucks and buy one for $14 a pound. Or does anyone here have an espresso machine? If I asked that question in Europe, the hands would be 100%. The little pods, take 6 of them. Or I can pay $39 a pound, right? Nespresso is on the highest rent district in the world. High Street in London, Champs-Élysées in Paris, Milan with all the famous designers, Nespresso selling pods in their machines, right? So they've all, and they don't care what the other one's doing. It doesn't have anything to do with them. It's all coffee, a commodity, but they don't care because they got their own thing going of here's what we do. Here's who I am. Here's what we do. And every company now is challenged. That includes you guys as a separate type of what is our creative monopoly? What do we do that no one else does, right? Product wise and company wise, right? It's usually a combo. So that we can close sales. There's closing principles, right? It takes a satisfying story. Gotta, believe what you're saying, right? I have to find out who you are, uncover motives, right? And I got to understand buying signals. First hot tub ever sold me 84, probably. Somebody's test soaking. I just keep talking, put his hand on my arm, says, Steve, just write it up, man. Whew. Young kid, I'm making a big mistake in, right? I wasn't there. Of course, they're testing it. It's like they're ready to go, but I didn't know because I didn't know yet. But no one ever had to ask me again. And did you guys see this movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, one of the greatest sales movies of all time? Tough, hard to take, based on a Broadway play, full of stars: Alec Baldwin, Al Pacino, Ed Harris, Walter Matthau, Kevin Spacey, everybody in the whole world. But that's where the term coffee for closers comes from.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Man, and then he's not kidding. He's down there to give him a sales meeting. There's 5 guys in the room. First prize is a Cadillac, second prize, set steak knife, third prize, you're fired. So 3 guys are getting fired at the end of the month. So it's really rugged and tough and whatever. And they're selling like they're not honest salespeople. They are everything bad about it. But anyway, it's great. I used to ask a question after it, how's their life different than ours as salespeople? And the correct answer was not at all. They have to sell. We have to sell. The other correct answer would be we don't get treated that way. If we did, we should leave immediately, right? So that's it. Salespeople have to sell, period. That's what, coffee's for closers. And then he flips it over, and that's where the term always be closing. Now, that is not bad advice. That's not bad advice. As I build the value chain of myself and my company and the product and whatever that price represents, that price could be $100,000, but that's the price, right? That I build the value of over it. If I'm doing that all along the way, then that is. But I really believe a better aspect than always be closing these days is always be connecting. Always be, if we're focused not on, okay, here comes a client, I'm going to close them. It's like, I'm going to connect with these people. It keeps me curious, right? It keeps me wondering. It keeps me empathetic, which I'll talk about in a second. It keeps me wanting to know what's going on there so I can get my information across and I can get information from them is more valuable. The thing to remember about sales is about customers. They may have these preconceptions, but they're not against us. They are only for themselves. Everyone is for themselves. So I got to figure out what that means, right, for you, and treat every single customer differently, because guess what? They are, man. DNA, fingerprints, it's kids growing up in the same house, you and your siblings, right? You're completely different, but you grew up in the same house. Why? Because everybody's different and the drivers are different, and I don't know what they are, right? So coffee is for connectors. And then connection principles, authenticity. We talk about that a lot it's a superpower. And salespeople think, okay, I'm a salesperson, I got to act this certain way, versus I'm a person learning and developing sales skills. That's what authenticity is. I'm a person and I'm going to sell these big ticket items, not like Steve does, not like my other workers do. how I do it. But I got to be effective, right? So it's not like I can be terrible and say, hey, it's just the way I am. You're going to have to go be good at something else, right? So shared values, the values we talk about accountability, integrity, empathy. Empathy is important to know because empathy means understanding where another person's coming from, including when you don't agree with where they're coming from, don't agree with the word they say. That's still empathy is trying to understand them. So this is how we connect, right? I am myself. I have the values of accountability and integrity to ask the questions, to learn a lot, empathy, and then support. Is this person going to take care of me? That we get this across. If I'm going to connect, right, I'm going to be authentic, we're going to have shared values. Everybody who doesn't want to do business with people with integrity, I want to know where you're coming from, and I want you to know that I'm here. I'm going to take care of it. So a lot of times when people don't ask for the sale, they talk about that a lot in all the sales training, got asked for the sale, asked for the sale. That's all great, except it doesn't happen a lot because, in my opinion, we haven't earned the right it's inappropriate. We didn't go through the 7 steps. We didn't wrap it all into a satisfying presentation. We didn't earn it. All right. So here's the ways you earn the sale. First of all, you got to look the part. And that includes your showroom. That includes you. You're going to ask me for anything from is there even a $3,000 spa anymore? I don't know if there is. $5,000 to $25,000 hot tub. Or anywhere from a $5,000 to a $25,000 pool or $100,000 pool, you better look the part, right? That you're someone in your company, someone who deserves that type of money. Be the expert, no excuse for this. Learn your product. That's what product training is. Learn your product. That's not sales training, but that's product training. Because then you can take it and use it as the expert. Everybody wants to buy from an expert. This is the part that can take care of itself if you will put in the work. Then we can learn how to use it effectively and sell. Because here's the other crazy thing: a human brain can only handle about 7 things before they go into overwhelm, right? So if your presentation is a whole lot of product information, you're still going to try to either get it down to 1 and ask them to buy, right? You're going to all these other things. You're at 3 to 4 of those 7 before you've even talked about your product, right? If you want them to value you and your company, it's a big ask, right? So anyway, we've got to build value in the categories. The categories are you, your company, your product, and your price. And the price is just a price. Doesn't mean high price, low price. It just means that's the price for this product. Build value. Ask great questions, skill. I'm still learning how to do that better. And I've had some great strides in that this year. Got to have a plan. Warren Buffett said, an idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan. So when we think about that arch and working in the areas and having a plan to improve, that's it. We can't get down to where a customer's got 2 or 3 options. They're still thinking. Our job as the salespeople, we've got to narrow it down to 1. That takes skill. In real estate, it's location, location, location. In selling, it's presentation, presentation, presentation. Be prepared. Be a pro. I always ask this question too. How many people here are professional salespeople in sales training? I never get 100% of the hands. And I define it. A pro means you get paid to do it. Amateur means you do it for free. How many people here get paid to sell spas? Every hand goes up. So be a pro. Get paid to do it, right? You get paid to do it, but understand that you are. And then have the expectation for have to sell. Put in the work ahead of time to have the expectation that this transaction is going to happen the minute you even introduce yourself, right? Have that expectation that it's going to happen. And then be authentic. And this is on my slide, and we spend a much bigger time on this of authenticity in the workshop. But yeah, be authentic. And this is a picture of my client in France who went to offsite events. They had a beautiful showroom. Offsite events around France was really their thing, and they were experts at it. And they would spend $50,000 to $100,000 to be there. Look at the hardwood floors. But my point of this picture isn't that. The point is expectation. There's the closing rooms. That's where they plan to sit down and write up. If you spend $100,000 for a show, guess what? You have expectations to sell sometimes $1 million, sometimes 400, 500. That's their expectations. And so you got to be ready to do that. So even in your showroom, where are you sitting down? Where's it quiet? Where are you kind of separated? Even if it's by something like that, where are you separated to make your points? And people buy, especially when they're spending a lot of money, sitting down, not standing up. So I know for years when I got started, we were people standing at a counter, writing out their checks. There's a better way, just a better way. And then, so once again, the ultimate goal of where we're going is your authentic, value-based, principled sales presentation. and it takes time. And our program is a 2.5-hour workshop and then a monthly follow-up of really what we call presentation mapping, of really focus on the presentation, but really touching on values, touching on principles, not one at a, do one at a time. Some of the obstacles, the goals, we keep it in our mind so that we don't just let it go, that it's gone forever and I'm back on my own again. So that's what our program's all about, is not being on your own. Okay, Sarah. Are you
Thank
still
you,
here?
Steve. Yep, I'm here. Hi,
All
guys.
right, so there's a few, and I'm not really on a time frame. Most of my stuff, I never get questions for whatever reason, but I'm totally wide open for any type of questions.
Looks like we got a couple folks that came off of mute. John or Corey, do you guys have any questions for Steve today? Okay. I was going to put the website address into the chat box, but Steve has it here in his slide. It's effort-today.com. Blight Sales uses him currently for the training, and we get a lot out of it. His emails are great. It's not part of the training course, so I do suggest you sign up for his newsletters. They're really quick. If you're familiar with James Clear, it's very similar to that, where they're quick and impactful emails done once a week. Really, really great stuff. And if you have time on Friday, February 21st, we'll have another session featuring Steve. This topic is going to be a little different. It's going to be the 10 obstacles, or 10 deadly obstacles, or performance hurdles, I should say, of salespeople. So if you guys have time, we'll have another 60-minute session. You got to know Steve a little bit today. He's loaded with content. We made it through 60 minutes. He's a fast talker, got to keep up. So we will have this recorded session available on our website, on the Blight Sales website, if you want to go back and revisit and take some tidbits away. But other than that, I'd like to thank you all so much for your time, and thank you for coming. And we look forward to doing business with you this year. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hey, I will say one last thing for anyone who is interested in the program that you and your entire company are in. Who one of your sales guys gave me the highest compliment from my sales rep, an older sales rep. He's like, hey, it's a lot better than I thought it'd be. Meaning everybody thinks everything's going to be travel, but he's getting something out of it. But what the program is, it's at sparetailer.com, Kendrick content, whatever. But it's a workshop, and then it is a monthly follow-up for 12 months. So you end up with like 15 hours of content. And my goal, even starting this, yes, to get money to help kids in Belize, but really to make it affordable to where I was a 25-year-old kid, and my boss wasn't going to pay for it. It was affordable enough for me to pay for it. So you do immediately get on my mailing list for a Friday short blog, hopefully impactful. You get a TGIM Monday video. Thank goodness it's Monday, which is a video, just a short 1 to 2 minute about some specific subject. And then you have the monthly, what we call our key concept community. Today, what we talked about was a lot of key concepts. And in that community, we follow up on them and keep going. Hopefully by the end of that 12 months, that they're part of who we are, and then we are really being able to meaningfully do something with them. All right, that's the rest of my self-promotional spiel, Sarah.
Okay, thank you so much, Steve. And thanks again, everybody, for coming in for this great session on the art of selling spas. And I hope you all have a great year, and give us a shout if you need anything at all, any more support. As you know, we sell Aspen Spas and Innova Spas, and we look forward to doing more business with you this year. Again, thank you so much.